Hello, hello, and welcome to Roots and Branches Adoption Stories here on KFred Radio. I'm Janet Munro, and I'm a birth mother. So, have you ever wondered if your own pain could become the reason thousands of other people find healing? Today, my guest is Jeanette Yoffe, a foster child, an adoptee, a licensed marriage and family therapist, an author, an educator, and founder of Celia Center, an organization that has become a place of support, education, and healing for everyone connected by adoption and foster care. Jeanette, welcome to Roots and Branches Adoption Stories. I'm so glad that you could make it today. I know how busy you are,
Thank you.
and I'm really glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And I thank you for all you do in elevating our voices.
This is something that I'm trying by giving back. So let's start at the beginning. How did you become involved in because what your foster situation and the adoption situation led you to the life that you have today. So let's start at the beginning and how you became part of that
Yes,
organization or part of the system.
yes, the story. There's a story, many layers, and it's been quite a journey because I never thought I would be doing this today. And so going back to my origin story, I was born in Manhattan. My mother was an immigrant from Argentina. She had a work visa to be a dancer, to work as a dancer in New York City. She was part of a creative group from Buenos Aires, Argentina. She wanted to dance. She was dancing in Argentina. This was her dream. She came to New York, found my birth father. They got pregnant. They eloped because she was Roman Catholic. I need to have this baby and be married. Uh, then I was born. I lived with them for 15 months. Then, actually, probably 3 months before, at when I was a year, she became pregnant with my brother. During this time, there was a lot going on for her. Apparently, my maternal grandmother was ill in Argentina. She was overwhelmed about that. She met a woman at the park. I'm playing on the playground, and she tells this woman I need help. I'm alone. I only have my husband. He works full time. I need help. The woman at the park tells her, go to Jewish child care. They will take care of your baby. Not recognizing or understanding this is not a social welfare child program where they just take care of your child. This is a foster care adoption agency, Jewish child care in Manhattan. My mother goes there, says, please take my child. Can you take care of her? I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed. She doesn't know what she's signing. She signs a document. She apparently relinquished her rights right there on the spot. This is the 70s. This happened to women. Women were coerced. Women with healthy babies. It was an industry, as we know, adopting a child. It was the 70s, the 80s made it more popular. And yes, there are families who can't produce and have their own children. I understand that. My circumstance, led me to, then at that time, I was traumatized. I entered foster care. I remained there for 6.5 years. After I was placed, my brother was born. He remained with them for 9 months, my birth parents. My mother again became significantly distressed and had a psychotic episode. And then she was placed at Bellevue Hospital in the psychiatric ward, and my brother was placed in foster care in another home in the Bronx. So I'm on Long Island, my brother's in the Bronx, and my mother's in the hospital. My father, I can only imagine the trauma and the grief and loss that he endured. It pains me to this day. And I found my birth father. He holds the key to this whole story, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I actually reached out to Jewish Child Care and I said, I have a right to all my documentation, all the notes that the social worker wrote, all my paperwork because I lagged and fell through the cracks in the foster care system. And this happens with children across the country for 6.5 years. I received that paperwork and I got to read the notes written by the social worker. And I truly understood what was happening internally for my mother. She was grieving the loss of her mother. She was in the United States having two children, then losing two children to the foster care system. My father's traumatized, grief stricken. He actually tried for 6.5 years to reunify my brother and myself with birth family members in Argentina. So there was communication between New York State child welfare system and the Argentinian consulate to have us placed back in our birth country. But that fell through. I remember meeting my brother. I was 6.5 years old because they told us, the social worker came to the house and she said, "You're going to go on a long plane ride and you're going to meet your brother." I had no idea I had a brother. Remember, I was 15 months when I left. I didn't know I had a brother. They tell me I'm going on a long plane ride. Then I go to Burger King with my brother and I see him. This is the first time I've ever seen somebody who looks like me. And it scared me. It startled me. It reopened my grief and my loss. Wow, this is my biological brother. And so this experience, being in foster care and having all these big, circumstantial, intense events in my life, very challenging. And, you know, there's so many reasons that what leads someone to become adopted. When you've been in foster care, it's the wound is so open and people know it. It's not an invisible wound like, oh, you don't look adopted. It's people knew I was in foster care. I wore hand me downs. People knew, oh, she has a token for lunch. Oh, the state pays for her food. I was stigmatized. I felt othered. And so I have even more layers. Oof, my self esteem was crushed because then when the Argentinian consulate said, uh, the children need to be placed here for a year first before they're adopted into their relative kinship care, is going to be placed with our aunt and uncle. They felt that they couldn't do that at that time, my aunt and uncle, because there was significant challenges in the country at that time. Women and children were actually being kidnapped. There was a Gestapo overturning the government, so they feared for our lives. So now when I look back, I go, oh my gosh, there were political challenges happening in this country at the time. So that's why we remained in the United States. And that at that time, foster care to adoption was not an option like it is today. Parents need to be certified when you have a foster child. And if they are eligible for adoption, become available, right? Their parents have done all their case plan, but their parental rights are terminated for whatever that circumstance is, then the child becomes available for adoption. That happened to us. So my birth father relinquished his rights. He felt he could not care for me and my brother without a mother. And it's so painful for me, but my birth father, he said he deported our mother back to Argentina. I think it was probably out of rage. You know, he can't deport. I know he bought her a plane ticket and said, go back. Probably out of anger, right? That she caused this. And we have a woman, a mother, who I know loved me. She was grief stricken. I read the notes when I left her. She didn't want this to happen. And I'm not the only one this happened to with Jewish childcare. I even met with the director of Jewish childcare and I said, please explain to me what happened here. I deserve an apology. My mother deserves an apology. We need best practice. If you have an immigrant woman, she needs to know what she's signing. She needs mental health care. We're always giving more support to foster and adoptive families when the person we need to support is the birth family with funding, mental health care, even medical care. So, again, my father holds the key. He's still alive. He will not have reunion with me because I'm a reminder, I know, of all of this pain and this trauma that occurred in our family. And so I wrote a one woman play when I was 21 years, no, 20, about 26 years old. I started thinking about my whole experience because I always loved performing and I didn't understand why. But genetics, my mother was a dancer. She liked to be on stage. I loved to dance. I danced, I sang, I acted. So I said, oh, why don't I write a play about growing up in foster care and adoption? Which I did. And many moms from Concerned United Birth Parents were there in the audience. This was 1999. And I remember looking out in the audience and I see all the mothers crying because I'm searching for my birth mother. I think I find my birth mother at a grocery store and I beg her to take me back. It just touches on all the nuances of the loss, the grief, the need for connection and identity. And having done that show, it's called What's Your Name? Who's Your Daddy? It's on Audible, if anyone wants to listen to it. And out of that, I realized, and I had done a lot of research. I read all of Betty Jean Lifton's books. I reached out to all the local organizations. At that time, I had moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in acting. And I did all this research. And someone from the audience came up to me and said, you know, you're an expert now. And I went, me? I'm just a little actress who wrote a little play about adoption and foster care. She goes, you're an expert, and your voice is so important, and we need to hear the adoptee perspective. So that flipped a switch for me, and I went, wow. So, and at the time, I had volunteered at an adoption support center, which was providing support to adoptive families, and I wanted to work with the kids. I just always loved children. So I went to it was a barbecue, and I went to this barbecue, and there's all the kids who were adopted, and this little girl comes running towards me out of nowhere, and she looks up at me, she's like, are you adopted? I heard you're adopted. And I looked at her, and I got down on her level, and this moment for me was, I said, yes, we are adopted, and we're going to be okay. And in that moment, it became my calling. I said, I need to work with children. Because for me, it's always been, how do I transform this pain into purpose and help the next generation not go through what I went through? I cried buckets. And I tell kids, yeah, it feels like you cry buckets, right? And so, having that moment, I then decided I'm no longer pursuing a career in acting. I'm pursuing a career in clinical psychology. And I want to work with children one on one. I want to work with families. I want to support and do best practice and blaze a new trail in the field of adoption and foster care. What do we need to do differently? How do we support birth families? How do we support adoptees? How do we educate adopted families? So I received my clinical psychology degree. I became licensed in 2006. I became very busy, Janet. Here in Los Angeles, we are the largest child welfare system in the country. Los Angeles, state of California, because it's such a huge state. And I realized, wow, There were 36,000 children in foster care here in Los Angeles, and it blew my mind. And I went, oh my gosh, I was lucky. And I know adoptees don't like that word, but when you've been in foster care and you are adopted after 6.5 years and you're an older child, you're pretty lucky. A lot of older children get lost, shuffled in the system, and are never adopted. They never have stability. They age out of foster care. They end up homeless, in prison. I mean, the statistics are not good. So I feel grateful that I was adopted at the age of 7.5. And having had a good upbringing, my parents supported me in the performing arts. They saw that it was important to me to express out what I was holding inside. And so, getting my clinical psychology degree, I started a private practice. I'm in my office right now. I found that families need so much support. So I started a little support group that could, called the Adopt Salon Support Group, which many birth mothers from Cub have come to. So I wanted to bring us all together to destigmatize. First of all, the projection at birth mothers that they're addicts, they're homeless, they're right. There's so many circumstances that lead a birth mother to not be able to parent her child. And so I had birth mothers, birth fathers, adoptive parents, adult adoptees, and former foster youth all in a circle. And I put candles, made it very safe, comfortable, a place and a space for us to just talk and meet each other. Many adoptive parents had never even talked to a mother who had relinquished her child. And to see that, oh, they're not a negative stigma, they're a person. And, and helping parents understand a mother's experience and helping adoptive parents understand the grief and loss that an adoptee is holding on to and all the pieces of unanswered questions, and that this is a lifelong process. And even myself, I wanted to know who are the other adult adoptees out there like me who's still searching for who I am. Even though I'm a professional, I'm still dealing with this. I'm still dealing with this. And it's painful. I have my hard days. And at the same time, I feel so blessed. I'm doing a reunion in 3 weeks, Janet, with a birth mother who's waited 17 years to see her child again. And so for me, there's so many wonderful pieces, things that I can do now differently, and yet there's still so much pain that needs to be honored, valued, and worked through. So that's where I am today in my work.
Wow. That's definitely the story, of learning where you belong. You belong giving back to all these people and helping them. I know I'm doing the podcast because I lost my son and I wanted to do something in memorial for him. And this is why I started the podcast, because we had a good story. It was when we finally met, he got answers to who he was, where he came from. He understood certain quirks that he had, why he was entrepreneurial, whereas his adoptive parents just wanted him to get a job, preferably with the government, so he would have a stable job. But that wasn't him. He got that from my side of the family. And it's really important, I think, for those reunions to get to know your birth parents so that you can see where you come from and then you feel whole.
That's
You get
right.
those answers.
Right, because if we don't know where we've come from, how do we know where to go? How do we know what to do with our lives, how to launch our lives? A lot of adoptees get stuck. They get stuck. They don't know what their calling is. They don't know why they're here. They don't have that foundation to bounce off of and go, oh, okay, so my parents were doctors. Let me consider, is that something I want to do? Like they need something to bounce off of, some foundation. And when you don't have that, you have what's called identity confusion, genetic bewilderment. I would look in the mirror and go, I don't know who, where did I get this nose? Where did I get my hair? When I first saw a photo of my birth mother, I look identical to her, identical. And that, wow, now I know why I wear my hair like this in a bun, because she wears her hair like that in a bun. And I didn't even learn until I was 17 that I was half Argentinian. People always imposed identities on me. They would tell me, "Oh, Jeanette, you're Italian. You eat a lot of spaghetti, right?" Because I'm from New York, or I have an accent, or I have a little edge. I'm like, "Oh," and people would tell me because I would go, "I don't know who I am." You're Italian, Jeanette. You're Italian, and there's a lot of Italians who came to South America, uh, but I'm not Italian. I'm Argentinian, and I was just reculturating watching FIFA because Argentina was in the finals, and I'm crying watching FIFA, okay? Watching it going, these are my people. Wow, no wonder why I played soccer in high school. And I'm a grown woman, and I'm still dealing with this. But I felt a sense of pride. I'm now finding pride. There's still grief and loss, and now there's pride. There's a dual experience now with my culture. Because I did find my birth mother, and her name is Celia. I found her
Did you
after. Yeah,
did you ever get a chance to meet her?
yes, yes. So after I started my private practice, I got a phone call from my brother, who my brother and I actually reunified as adults right before I came to Los Angeles. He found me, he searched for me for 5 years. We had reunion. Our birth father wrote him a letter because he found our birth father and put a photo of our birth mother. And that's when I first saw a photo of her. And previous to this, I'll tell you, I used to go to Alma meetings in Manhattan. Alma, which was led by birth mothers, helping adoptees and birth parents search for their long lost children or parents. And Alma taught me, go to New York City Public Library and open the big birth books. Look up your birthday. And I knew my birth name because I was in foster care. So I knew my birth name. So I went straight running to those birth books, saw my name, and you can see in the birth ledger, it says your first name, your last name, your birth name, your father's first name, and your mother's maiden name. So I got great clues to begin my search. And so I did find my birth father. He was living in Manhattan in the same apartment that I lived in the first 15 months of my life. I went back to the microfiche. I looked in the 1970s phone book, same address, same name. And I had my friend pose as a social worker from Jewish Child Care to see if he'd be willing to receive a letter from me. And so she called him. It's actually in my play. The whole afternoon of this event, that's real life, what actually really happened. It's in my play, and I acted out. And she says, this is Anne Rabinowitz from Jewish Child Care. Would you be willing to receive a letter from your daughter, Jeanette? She's been wanting to reach out to you. Pause in the phone call. We knew it was him. He said yes. So then I wrote him multiple letters over multiple years, and I never heard back from him, which also caused me a lot of pain, which is also another reason why I left New York City and came to Los Angeles. I felt like I didn't belong again as a 25-year-old woman. And so I left Los Angeles. But right before I left, I got this strange phone call. I have information about your birth family. I'd like to call you tomorrow at 9 p.m. I'm waiting by the phone the next day. Who is this? And the phone rings, I pick it up, and it's a male voice. And I'm expecting the woman's voice who left the voice message. I'm like, hello? Like, I'm expecting an important call. And he says, it's your brother, Patrick. And I just lost it. I said, oh my gosh, Patrick, I remember meeting you. We were like 6. We were supposed to go on a long plane ride. He goes, I remember it too. So we had reunion, and it's our birth father. And yes, I am thankful to him for this, who put us together. He said he was not able to write me back. It was much too painful for him, but he was able to write my brother back. And that's how he connected us. We received a photo of our birth mother, and my brother and I then searched for her, and it took us 10 years. She was living in Buenos Aires in Argentina, and she was in a women's psychiatric institution. And so after she returned, after we left her, she was not well, and she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she actually lived there till her dying day. She's not with us anymore, but we did find her eventually. We took that plane ride to Argentina. We met our birth mother, Celia, and I was very nervous because I knew she had mental illness. My fear was I was going to become mentally ill because there was such a big part of me. I just wanted to go back inside of her. Strangely, I wanted to enmesh. I wanted to go back to the moment we left each other. So I thought I was going to regress into this 15-month-old baby. I had to go in my own therapy before meeting her because I had to prepare myself because the feelings were so intense for me. And then it was very healing for me to see her. It was also very painful to know that she was living in a mental institution. And she suffered. She suffered. She thought that we had died in America. This is what she told herself in order to cope. She has all these notes that she wrote, which I've received, and I've had them all interpreted. And it's just a mother's grief, a mother's loss. And I've shared some of them at a birth mother conference, at the Cub conference one year, my mother's letters, because her pain was silent, and she suffered alone in that silence. And so it's an unspeakable loss. And so that's what started Celia Center. So then I took that pain. I came back after reunion and went, I need to do something with this. That's when I started those little support groups, which led to starting a nonprofit because I realized, wow, we need more help than one support group a month. We need conferences, we need more education, we need events for children. So I've done that for 15 years. I started that in 2011. Now it's shifting. Our programs are shifting. So I have my private practice part-time. Celia Center is part-time. And so now we're doing arts festivals because once I learned my birth mother was an artist and that I was an artist in many regards, I wanted to incorporate, and I found in our community there's so many artists, creative artists, mothers, sculptors, artists, dancers, singers. Wow, we need to incorporate the arts because it's so hard for us to put this experience into words, especially when it's pre-verbal, before the age of 3. How do I speak to this experience? So through art, we can externalize the experience, and that also helps us heal. So now we do arts festivals in Los Angeles, and kids, adults, teenagers get to get involved. be part of the installation, submit their artwork, sing a song, write a poem, perform one woman shows. So that's where we are today. And that's really still part of my healing process.
So is Celia Center a physical building?
So we satellite. So this is my home office where I do everything for Celia Center. I have an
Okay.
office. Our events are held in theaters, in cultural art spaces. Conferences are held at hotels. So
All right.
our
So the
programs, our
Celia,
events are held at locations. This is the home office where we do have support groups still occurring in my office, in person and virtual.
so with Celia Center, what need do you feel is being met?
Community, knowing that we're not alone. There are other adoptees out there. There are other parents who've relinquished children. There's a community where you do belong. You do. This is also a place, a safe place. We understand you. We get you. You don't have to say anything. And we see you. We hear you. It's a silent pain. And a lot of people don't recognize the impact adoption has had on them. And when they come to our center and see that there's other people that are beginning to share the pain, the loss, and the grief, it gives them permission. So we are a we are a catalyst in helping bring out the pain, heal from what's happened to us, so we can figure out what we want to do with the experience we've had. And then also arts, expressive arts. We're healing, we're helping people heal and erase the negative stigma. Erase the negative stigma, especially of foster youth. There's a negative stigma. Oh, they're problems. They have too many behaviors. Oh, they're going to become a statistic. I'm fighting that statistic completely, and I'm helping other youth fight that statistic. So we're blazing trails. We've been blazing a trail here for a long time.
What's your vision for Celia Center for the future?
Good question. I think partnering with other organizations, I think partnering is really important because it's hard. The, the life of a nonprofit, it's very hard to get funding in for nonprofits. And I think I would like for us to lean on each other more. Celia Center and Cub have partnered before, but I think really creating this nice group of who are the agent, the not agency, who are the adoptee led, birth parent led organizations. And we need to form a caucus because we have a lot to share with the world about the experience. Only those who have lived experience can do so. So I would like us to create a caucus, and I've talked about this with some other people, a caucus, because there isn't one, a leading group of people that are the people you turn to understand what is best practice in adoption and foster care. These are the leaders who know because of the work that they've done over
There
years,
are many leaders out there
decades. That's right.
that I've met. So,
Oh, Joyce. You know Joyce
no,
McGuire Pavo?
no, I
Ah,
haven't met her yet.
she's an adoptee. Incredible. She has been doing this longer than I have. I've learned from her. She's incredible. She was one of the first people to start an adoption competency training for therapists. Yes, which I do now here in Los Angeles. I train Department of Mental Health. I train county social workers uh, because people are still, parents are still not telling their children they were adopted, and that's not okay. Parents are still not understanding your child has this invisible wound and they're hurting and they're so scared, a lot of kids, to talk about the ghost kingdom that they're thinking about and wondering about, where do I come from? And they're so scared to even talk about it with their adoptive parents because they don't want their parents to think they don't love them. It's not about you, it's about what your child is going through. And so, yeah, there's a lot of education that needs to continue. And I feel like I've been in the trenches, Janet. I'm like, listen, this, you can't do that. You have to tell the child, constantly advocating. I do sibling bonding studies to keep siblings together because I wish somebody did that for me. My brother and I should have been raised together. We weren't that far apart. He was in the Bronx, I'm on Long Island. It's not okay. We're still growing up as kids, as adults. So, yeah, just any opportunity I have in my spare time to do what's right for us, for our community, so the next generation doesn't have to go through what we went through.
One of the saddest stories that I've told is a young lady who, I think it was at the age of 7, um, her adopted parents brought their biological son home from the hospital.
Yeah,
And the dad sat her down on the stairs because she was so happy she was going to have a brother.
yeah.
And her dad sat her down on the stairs and said to her, Charmaine, this is our real son. You are not real.
What?
And that just changed her whole life that day.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
That's
And
tragic.
that's the saddest story that I've heard.
That's the
And
sad. That's so
I
sad.
was blessed to have her tell it for the first time to me. So it was, I think, 42 years later when she started doing self help and learning about where she came from in order to get through that trauma. So that today she knows that she is real.
She is
Yeah.
so, so. Yes, I hope. Wow, I'd love to meet her and see her and tell her how valid she is.
She is an amazing, amazing woman.
Wow.
Really, really blessed to, as I said, to have had that conversation with her. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about adoption and foster care?
That we'll just get over it. We'll just get over it. Oh, why do you want to search? Aren't you? Isn't your family good enough? Why would you want to do that? That question. Oh, I even had somebody go, oh, you were in foster care? Oh my gosh, you should be in a puddle of tears. I've had people say that. People, the microaggressions, have sensitivity. Know that this is a vulnerability. This is painful. Think about your own family. You have all that you know. We've had the rug pulled out from under us. We have so many broken pieces. We're struggling for identity. So we're not hungry, we're starving. And yes, life is going to be harder for us to figure that out when we don't have a supportive community. We need our friends, our neighbors to be curious, not interrogating, questioning why. Oh, And even, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for your loss. You know what I do with kids now, Janet? We have a grief mailbox. I make grief mailboxes for adopted children and foster kids. And on their birthday, they get to write themselves a birthday letter, a birthday card from their birth mother or their sibling that they're no longer with or their birth father. And they put it in the grief mailbox. I even write sympathy cards to children. I'm so sorry for your loss. They can write a sympathy card for themselves. We need to acknowledge this is grief. Adoption begins with loss. And these children are grieving the loss of all that they know, their family of origin. And children, as we know, in trauma, children are egotistic. They will blame themselves, which is then going to create another mental health challenge for that youth. There's something wrong with me because why would any mother give away her baby? It must have been my fault. Because the world revolves around kids. They believe it was about them. So we want to help kids understand it wasn't about you that led to your adoption. It was about the circumstances in your mother or father's life at that time to preserve their integrity, their self-esteem, and they're still going to have grief and loss. But we've got to stop telling people to get over it and stop asking why and saying, wow, I'm so sorry for your loss. And that's enough because the adoptee will, wow, somebody's acknowledging my pain. My pain is valid. Our pain is valid. And it will have impact. And we will have mental health vulnerabilities because of that fact. It's not what's wrong with us, it's about what's happened to us. That's informing our behavior right now. I cried so much as a child. My mother, you know what she'd say? Stop feeling sorry for yourself. She didn't know. So I needed her to say, and she got the feeling right. I was feeling sorry for myself. I needed her to say, I'm so sorry, honey. You're feeling so sorry for yourself. You have a lot to feel sorry for. But she had her own loss, my adopted mother, infertility loss. She didn't work through her own grief and loss related to her own ghost kingdom of wishing and wanting a biological child. So parents, what's the misconception? We don't get over it. We're continuously moving through it. And it's a lifelong process. And parents need more education and embracing all the parts of your child's experience, the painful parts and the good parts. But there's going to be both. And so parents, like I do, teaching trauma responsive parenting, attachment parenting, grief and loss. I recently wrote a book of all the interventions that I do with children for clinicians, social workers, therapists. It's called The Traumatized and At-Risk Youth Toolbox. It has over 160 therapeutic interventions you can do with your child and therapists can do with children. And one of them is my anger bag, my sad bag, because I wished I had those coping skill bags when I was a kid. I didn't know where to put it all. The pain that I was pushing, repressing deep inside of myself. I needed me when I was a kid so badly. So I think that's my answer in a nutshell.
What does healing actually look like?
Story. This child who was in foster care for 6 years, every time she passed McDonald's, she cried. She went into a full blown meltdown. The mother comes to me and says, the adoptive mother says, I don't know what to do every time we go past McDonald's. She's crying. And I tell her, we're not going to go to McDonald's because it's not good for you. And I told her, we need to look at this. This is hysterical. What's hysterical is historical. It has something to do with the past. This is big. I said, we're going to ask her the next time in our session. So tell us, what's happening? Every time you go past McDonald's, you're crying, you're having really big feelings. You know what she said? My mommy's in McDonald's. She remembered having visits with her birth mother in McDonald's, court ordered visits. So this is healing. I looked at the mom and I said, guess what? You need to go in McDonald's. You need to drive to McDonald's. You need to be in with your child in McDonald's. You need to be curious. You need to go into her pain, into the lower depth. Tell me, honey, what was it like to be in McDonald's with your birth mom? What did you eat? What did you play? Healing is you need to go into the trauma. You need to lean into it, not run away. You need to lean into it, and it's painful, it's awkward, it's messy, it's non-linear. You're not going to know exactly what to do. If you have feelings, feel them, manage them at the same time, right? You can have empathy for your child, you can feel their pain, but if you're getting more activated than your child, that's a signal there's something from your past that this experience is bringing up, your own grief and loss that needs to be acknowledged, and you need to lean in that direction now. Pain, healing is going into your pain and feeling it and having compassion for it, having empathy and understanding. And it takes a lot of strength. It takes, I believe, Janet, finding the right person that you feel a sense of just by meeting them, a therapist, or even a good friend who understands, maybe another adoptee or another birth parent who knows the intensity of the emotions, who can help hold it with you, will give you that permission and give you a little sense of relief that I think I can begin to process my loss and go into it and feel it and grieve it because you will feel better. I remember when I began my journey, it's like the when you're crying so hard, that's what it feels like. And you're like you can't even breathe. That is what this abyss of adoption feels like. When you go into that pain, it feels like an abyss. It feels like a tsunami, and you're not going to be able to breathe. It's going to be hard to breathe. It's like you're going through a portal of pain. That is painful, and you need to embrace that. However, you will get through the other side. As you can see, I'm a witness. I'm evidence. You can get through the other side. You need to find that person that you can sense. I can trust this person because they've done their work. I'm going to give myself permission to be doing my work, dose at a time, and allowing myself to feel, unnumb, because your life is waiting. I don't mean to say it like that, but we all have a calling, and you need to find your calling. And sometimes we don't get the answers. I'm still asking for answers. I'm still asking for answers. And I may never get those answers, but I'm choosing to do something about it, to change the way this system works. Not on my watch. Now I'm a professional. Now I'm licensed. Now I get to have a say in the matter. And that's healing also, to empower yourself, because you can complain all day about the problems until you go, wait a second, I can actually do something about this. I'm an adult now, right? There may be young parts of you still activated, right? But hold on, this is your life. And you get to be a part of the change too. So finding community, finding other people like-minded. Um, I have I have a community of people that we're all doing our parts. There's so much to do to change the practice of adoption. And really, we want to mitigate adoption. Adoption should be the final exhausted straw for any child. First, it should be kinship care. Kinship, relative care. They stay in their family of origin if their mother cannot parent them. They stay in their birth families. Birth families, too, need to step up, and a lot of them do. We have a lot more kinship care today. Adoption. But there's just too many children in foster care systems. So we need to help birth mothers, too, with financial support, child support.
There is no real financial support for birth mothers as opposed to, when a child goes into foster care, the
Yep,
foster parents have some kind of stipend that they can use to help them, right? But a birth mother that has a child and, she can't work because something's happened, there's nothing there, then the child gets taken.
I know.
That birth mother does not have any assistance.
That's the number one reason today why mothers do relinquish. It's because of lack of financial support. There is an organization called SOS, Save Our Sisters. Have you heard of them?
No.
Oh, they're fantastic. They are a national support for mothers who are considering adoption, and they help them make a different choice, decision. And they do their best to support mothers keeping their babies. Wonderful organization. And she would be a wonderful person to interview as well. I can connect you with her.
I would love to. Thank you. Um,
Yes.
we are in the process of changing our website because I feel more of these organizations should be listed there so that people can have support, and also to put the bios of every guest on there with a web page or email address so that people can reach them as well. Because right now, when I started this a year ago, the web page basically was about myself because I had no idea where this was going. But over the time, I have talked to some amazing people and they all give back. They all have this resilience. They've all learned that adoption is not the end of the world for them. It's the start. And people need to know how to reach them just in case they have a question. I feel they should be able to answer that question. I'm also doing a page listing all the books that any author I've had on has written so that people can find those as well. And it's just getting to be more exciting, making it bigger, more of a community for people to engage with.
That's right.
And that's what I think we need, and that it's necessary to be out there. I recently found CUB, which for those of you who are listening is the Concerned United Birth Parents. And it's an organization that's been around for 50 years, I believe,
Yep.
this year, that does help birth parents and adoptees. You've been a member of it for a while, Jeanette.
Yes, and I will be there at the upcoming conference in Seattle.
I will be at the conference as well.
Fantastic.
So
I'm
we will
actually
meet.
singing a song with a fellow adoptee and birth mother. I'll be
Well,
singing a song.
that I can't do because I'm afraid if I sang a song, everybody would leave. Uh,
I can't wait to meet you, Janet, in person.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jeanette had turned her experience with the foster system and adoption to a life of helping others heal. Myself, I turned my pain into a podcast. What can you turn your pain into? You can reach me at rootsandbranches.com, adoptionstories.com, or call me at 615-870-6433 and let me know your answers. Until next time, thank you for being here. Thank you, Jeanette. Really appreciate you.
Oh, you too, Janet.